What's up, y'all? This is Open Sauce, and this is actually a video that I spent some time on Twitch. If you don't know, I stream every Tuesday and Friday on Twitch, and I walked through how to use open source. A lot of times people ask the question, what is open source? And I walked through what is open source, but also how you can use it. If you have interest in making contributions open source, this is the project for you. So here we go. I'm gonna go through with the chat live on Twitch. What is open source? So open source, this is what you see when you first see open source. Never logged in. There's a link to Discord. There's a link to log in. Open source provides guidance for new contributions to contributors finding their next contribution. Our approach towards onboarding offers a way to track your contributions to the GitHub powered dashboard. So yeah, it's all pretty much fluff at this point. These are features that we sort of offer. Tracking issues, scheduling reminders, we'll get into that. Finding community and mentorship from projects. This is really just Discord. Discord is just kind of encompassing all these other features. Structured onboarding. This was something we did with Swim, this project. And we had an entire event to talk about onboarding open source. But my hope with open source is that you don't know how to do open source, or you do. This is an opportunity for you to find projects to work on and get mentorship or get information on how to contribute. So that's the gist of it. I'm gonna hit login. Now the first thing you see is the login button. Now I've already authorized it, which I thought was not authorized, but it looks like this went straight through anyway. But what I'm getting at is that it's gonna ask you to authenticate with the open source app. I just wanted to point out, the only thing we ask for is access to your metadata on your username. So like your username, your profile, that's what we ask for at that point. Because we only ask for this very minimal access to your information, we also have access to create a repo on your project, and I'll get to that, which is this. So this sort of dashboard introduction is basically saying, hey, you need to create a goals workspace. Open source is a tool to track your open source contributions. We saw that on the homepage. You can get started with creating a goals workspace, a public repository called Open Source Goals. So we're going to create that repository by clicking this button. So you've authenticated. I now have access as the owner of the app to then go create a repo on your profile. So those are the only permissions we have so far. And the goal for open source is that everything will be open. So I want to be very transparent on what's happening. If this is not transparent enough, I would love feedback on how we can make this more clear. I'm going to click this button. And then once that happens, this happens. So back in the code that's being hosted on Netlify, it's now checking to see if you created a new repo. So real quick, actually, before I go into that, it's now explaining to do one other thing, which is you need to install a GitHub app. Now, there's a good chance you have never heard of a GitHub app. If you haven't, that's totally fine. GitHub apps are basically things you can install on your repositories on GitHub. These are little integrations, these are bots. And I have an open source bot that will now have access to the repo that was just created. So the next ask is, and this is a screenshot, is to go to the repo that was just created, which what I should do is actually have a link. And if anybody's taking notes, if you want to open an issue, this should be linked to the new repo that you created, which is going to be finished. Actually, this should be a link right here, but this button right here is a link. So let me go ahead and click that, and you'll see a page that looks just like this. So it's an app for GitHub, nothing ambiguous about that. So I warned you before, you authorize that you could log into open source. We've also authorized creating a repo. And now we're basically taking that same repo that was just created. You want to basically, now you have two choices. You can either install on all repositories, that's up to you if you want to. I don't recommend that. I recommend that you install it on the repository that was just created. So there you go. Click the link, and now we completed this step. So again, this is also pretty ambiguous unless you've seen it before. If you've never installed any apps on GitHub, you're probably confused. And I get a lot of confusion when people get to this point. And that's why I just make assumptions. So we now installed it on this repo on this goals repo, and that's it. That's the only one. We have access to read metadata and pull request data. We have access to read and write access to administration, code, and issues on this repo. So not your entire account, not any other repo, just read, write access into do administration stuff, like basically generate tokens, open up issues, close pull requests, like all that stuff is available to that one repo. So install and authorize. Now we're being redirected to our GitHub. And this is the hardest part to explain is you're now in GitHub. You're not even sure what's happening. You don't even know that the repo itself exists unless you look over here and you see this repo. So this is the biggest point, another point of confusion when you sort of start. I think the screenshot blends in the white instructions, yes. And if you just saw that, it just refreshed because this repo was created. Now, I don't know how to let people know that this got created when you look at a screen like this. There's nowhere here that says, hey, congratulations on your new repo or anything like that. It's just, this is what GitHub gives you. So what I want to do is actually not redirect here, but redirect to here. That would be great because then at least you can have this here and then now you get all the explanation of like what is happening. So it's another problem point. Like if anybody has ideas, I'm open discussions. We do a pre-stream chat every Friday. If you want to come there, if you just want to hit me up in Discord, feel free to find the Discord, hit me up there. But I'm going to move on. I'm going to move forward. So once this app has figured out that you do have a repo, which is called Open Source Goals, this repo right here, Open Source Goals, it will now give you this empty dashboard. And there you go. You're now part of open source. I've just become used to going to my repository after things like that. Excellent. You could ping someone in open source from the main repo, putting all the links in a comment, so that way you get emailed too. Yeah, and honestly, maybe open an issue or a pull request. There's a couple things I could do. And I think Vortex, I think you're on the right path of like probably some sort of notification, like a pull request or an issue being opened in the repo saying welcome to open source. That would be great. These are great ideas. All right, so now we've got the dashboard. Now the goal of open source is you could add any repository in here. So if I wanted to go to node/node.js, and the way I'm sort of I'm getting this URL from, actually repository not found. It's because it's Node.js node. Repository not found. Okay. Well, let me actually go find a repository. So, and hit add. Not sure why. There we go. So I don't know why this happened, but that should work the first time. Possibly a bug, possibly an opportunity for a contribution. So like I probably outlined 3 bugs so far that probably could get an issue opened and some conversation. There might already be an issue open for it. The one thing so Vortex, this is where you came confused. Sync in progress. What is happening there? Well, what's happening is it's actually syncing from this issue that was just created called Node.js. And I'll get to this in a sec. But not only is that happening, it's also running a GitHub action that works in the background. So my intent is that you don't need to know about GitHub actions. You don't need to know about what's happening in this repo. The repo itself lives as a database for you to write notes about the projects you want to work on. So if I hit refresh, well, that sync in progress should probably not take that long, but here it is. But what happens is when you add a repository, it actually pulls data from GitHub. It tells me how many issues, how many stars, how many forks. It tells me what contributions I have currently. It also has, I've looked at mirror code already, and I don't know what to do with it. it gives you basically it's giving me some general data about Node.js, the project, and then some open issues as well. And that's what open source is trying to do, is just give you some stuff to look at for getting insight about the project. I can look at the fork that I have, which I don't have a fork. That's a bug. That should be make a fork. That's interesting. Anyway, this is overly buggy, apparently. I've never seen it so buggy. It does give you opportunity for code triage to set up code triage. This is a project to get notifications on issues that are open on the project. So that's where, going back to the homepage, having notifications, that's how I've sort of encompassed that. I don't manage or maintain code triage at all, but I think it's a great project. So I just basically link directly to that. So you can triage issues for that project, Node.js. This fork button should be create a fork. You should be able to create a fork on that, but I'm not sure why it's broken. And that's pretty much it. The other thing is the ability to type notes. So this is a note about Node. Save that note. See that note there. And then if I go back to my issues, see it right here. Obviously that did not work. I don't know why. This is a note. Why you not work? All right, so we'll try that again. I have a note here, and this is something to do with the API that's sort of falling apart on this. There you go, white, orange screen of death. This is a great video so far. This thing is like overly broken. Let's see if I can fetch this data again. Let's see if there's an error message. It looks like can't find property of null. So for whatever reason, it doesn't think I'm logged in. Honestly, I have no idea. That's something with the React router. So yeah, there's quite a few bugs, more than anticipated. But the good news is now y'all are very much informed on how the project's supposed to work, and you've seen live on how this thing is not working. So that's open source in a nutshell. Let me show you an actual working version now. And I'm not quite sure what all the bugs are happening, but like any other project, there's constant maintenance and update and upkeep. And I'll be quite frank, I have not been updating and upkeeping. But what's supposed to be showing in the sync and progress section is this. It should be showing stars for the repo. That's the only data I'm actually grabbing from the repo on this page. But you can see this is what it's meant to look like. And then if I look at here, you can see I've got a lot of stuff going on. Let me go to a project that actually has some notes. Honestly, I don't know if this project has notes. No, it doesn't. I do have a project that does have notes, which is graphical. And so obviously something is going on with the notes, because if I went to my live version of this, GitHub / bduggy / open sauce goals, I do have a bunch of issues because I do take a lot of notes. I'll be honest, I haven't used this project actively since December, so it's been a while since I had notes. But these are all my notes here on my project. What I wanted to do is actually have structured notes in open source, so it creates a table of issues you could work on and gives you recommendations. So that was where I was going with on this. And that kind of concludes what open source is and how it sort of correlates. If you have interest in making contributions open source, this is the project for you. If you want to learn about other projects, this is the project for you. Stop by the Discord, stop by the issues, ask questions. The best way to learn about the project, learn how to do open source, is by asking questions. So I encourage you to do so. Also, I'm going to shout out the fact that because of this video, we now have tons of good first issues. I said tons, but I really meant 5. But yeah, check out the good first issue label and jump in there. Anything unassigned, it's up for grabs. If you have any ideas or any thoughts or features for opensauce.pizza, please let me know as well. Stay saucy, y'all.